Breaking. Prince William just walked out of Labour's annual conference in the middle of Starmer's keynote speech, and what he did next has sent shockwaves through Westminster that could topple the government within 72 hours. Witnesses say the future king stood up, made direct eye contact with the Prime Minister, and left without a word as 2,000 delegates sat in stunned silence. Within minutes, Buckingham Palace issued a statement so explosive that constitutional experts are calling it unprecedented in modern British history. And leaked WhatsApp messages between senior royals reveal a plan that could change everything. If you want to see how this constitutional crisis ends, hit that subscribe button right now, because what happens in the next 48 hours will determine the future of Britain itself. Here's what sparked the most dramatic royal intervention since 1936. 3 days ago, Starmer announced he would deliver his conference speech not in the safety of a Labour stronghold, but at the Queen Elizabeth II Conference Centre in Westminster, just 400 yards from Parliament. His message was clear and confrontational. Labour would pursue what he called democratic modernization, including major reforms to unelected institutions. Those last two words sent chills through palace corridors. Prince William wasn't planning to attend. Royal protocol strictly forbids direct involvement in party politics. The monarchy stays neutral, stays silent, stays safe. Then, at 9:47 a.m. yesterday, something changed. Palace insiders revealed that William received a classified briefing from his private secretary containing leaked excerpts from Starmer's planned speech. What William read in those pages made him take a decision that shattered 300 years of royal political neutrality. According to sources close to the Prince of Wales, William immediately telephoned his father at Balmoral. The conversation lasted 34 minutes, extraordinary for a royal call, which is typically brief and formal. This was different. One insider described it as a son asking his father for permission to do something they both knew would change everything. By 11 a.m., the decision was made. William would attend the Labour conference, not as a ceremonial guest, but as a witness. And if Starmer crossed the line they feared he would cross, William had full authority to respond however he deemed necessary. The speech began normally. Starmer walked on stage at 2:15 p.m. to thunderous applause from 2,000 Labour delegates. He spoke about the economy, the NHS, and housing, standard fare. Television cameras panned across the audience and lingered momentarily on Prince William seated in the third row, dressed in a dark navy suit with no royal insignia. He looked like any other attendee, but those who know royal protocol understood the message. William was there as a citizen, not as a prince. That distinction would become crucial. For the first 20 minutes, William sat motionless, expression neutral, posture perfect. But 23 minutes into the address, everything changed. Starmer's exact words were chilling. Britain in 2025 cannot be governed by institutions designed for 1725. We will modernize every unelected body that wields power without accountability. The House of Lords will be abolished, the honor system will be reformed, and yes, if necessary, we will re-examine the constitutional role of the monarchy itself. The room erupted. Some delegates cheered, others gasped. But in the third row, Prince William went completely still. Witnesses say his face turned pale, his jaw clenched, and his hands gripped the armrest so tightly that his knuckles turned white. For 47 seconds, he didn't move. Then, without warning, he stood. No announcement, no explanation. William looked directly at Starmer, held his gaze for what felt like an eternity, and walked toward the nearest exit. Every eye in the hall followed him. Starmer faltered mid-sentence, losing his place in the teleprompter. The future King of England was walking out on the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in front of the entire Labour Party. By the time William reached the door, the silence was deafening. Security camera footage, later released to broadcasters, shows what happened next in the corridor outside. William stopped, turned to his protection officer, and said something that was captured on audio. His words were measured, but devastating. "Make sure every outlet knows I left deliberately. This wasn't a bathroom break. This was a statement." Meanwhile, pensioners who served this country for decades, who fought in wars and built modern Britain with their bare hands, are choosing between heeding and eating this winter. Jean Wilson, a 72-year-old former nurse from Manchester, told ITV News she has been skipping meals to afford her energy bills after losing her winter fuel allowance under Labour's new means testing rules. She worked 43 years in the NHS, saving countless lives, and now she's rationing bread. Margaret Foster, 68, from Newcastle, a widow whose husband died serving in the Falklands, broke down in tears describing how she sits in the dark after 6 p.m. to save electricity. These are the people Starmer claims to represent. These are Labour's core voters, being abandoned while he launches constitutional warfare against the very institutions that bind Britain together. The contrast is so stark, so cruel, that even lifelong Labour supporters are questioning everything they once believed. Veterans groups across Britain released a joint statement expressing deep concern about the Prime Minister's priorities. While we freeze, he fights the crown. That single sentence captured the rage building across working-class Britain. Derek Matthews, an 81-year-old former coal miner from Durham, recorded a video that went viral within hours. "I voted Labour my entire life," he said, his voice shaking with emotion. "My father voted Labour. My grandfather helped found the Labour movement in this country. But I will not vote for a party that attacks the Queen's grandson while I'm choosing between medicine and food." The video has now been viewed 4.7 million times. The comment section is filled with similar stories. Thousands upon thousands of lifelong Labour voters saying the same thing. Enough is enough. But then something unprecedented happened. Something nobody saw coming. King Charles, who had been observing events from Balmoral, did something no British monarch has done in the television age. At 6:32 p.m., just 4 hours after William's walkout, Buckingham Palace released not a standard statement, but a personal message from the king himself, broadcast simultaneously across all major networks. Standing in the drawing room at Balmoral, Charles looked directly into the camera and spoke words that will be studied by historians for generations. "The crown exists to serve the British people, to provide stability, continuity, and unity in times of division," he began, his voice steady, but weighted with unmistakable emotion. "My son acted today not in defiance of democratic politics, but in defense of the constitutional balance that has served this nation for centuries. When that balance is threatened, silence becomes complicity. We will not be silent." The impact was immediate and seismic. This wasn't a dusty protocol statement drafted by palace lawyers. This was a monarch defending his heir, his institution, and the constitutional order itself. Senior constitutional expert Professor David Reynolds called it the most politically charged royal intervention since the abdication crisis of 1936. Former Supreme Court Justice Lord Sumption described it as constitutionally proper, but politically nuclear. Palace insiders revealed that Charles personally rewrote the statement 7 times, removing diplomatic language and adding phrases that made his private secretaries visibly uncomfortable. One aide reportedly told him,
"Your Majesty, this will be seen as choosing sides." Charles's response, "I'm not choosing sides. I'm choosing Britain." But here's what makes the king's statement even more extraordinary. According to leaked palace communications, Charles consulted with every living former prime minister before making his broadcast. Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and Liz Truss. 5 prime ministers spanning 3 decades and multiple parties. And according to sources familiar with those conversations, not one of them advised Charles against intervening. Not one. Even Labour's own former leaders reportedly told the king that Starmer had crossed a constitutional red line that demanded a response. Within minutes, the dominoes began falling in spectacular fashion. The pound dropped 2.3% against the dollar in after-hours trading, the sharpest single-day decline in 18 months. International currency traders cited constitutional uncertainty as Britain's institutions appeared to be at war with each other. The FTSE 100 futures market showed panic selling. Billions were being wiped from British assets before the sun had even set. Investment firms quietly moved capital from London to Frankfurt and Dublin. One senior trader at Goldman Sachs told the Financial Times, "We can't operate in a country where the Prime Minister and the monarchy are in open conflict. The uncertainty is too great. Capital will flow elsewhere." British government bonds, typically among the safest investments in the world, saw yields spike as investors demanded higher returns to compensate for political risk. The economic damage was mounting by the minute, and every pound lost could be traced directly back to Starmer's words at 2:38 p.m. that afternoon. But the economic chaos was just the beginning. Inside the Labour Party, open rebellion erupted faster than anyone predicted. Shadow cabinet WhatsApp groups exploded. One leaked conversation shows Deputy Leader Angela Rayner writing, "We can't survive this. He's destroyed us in one speech." Transport Secretary Louise Hay was even more direct. Constitutional vandalism. That's what history will call this. Even Rachel Reeves, the chancellor known for her loyalty to Starmer, sent a message that later leaked to the Times. "We need to talk, all of us, without him." The parliamentary party was fracturing in real time, and every fracture was being photographed, screenshotted, and leaked within minutes. More than 30 Labour MPs. By 8 p.m., over 3,000 people had gathered outside Parliament, waving Union Jacks and demanding Starmer's resignation. Similar scenes played out in Manchester, Birmingham, Leeds, and Glasgow. These were organized demonstrations. They were spontaneous eruptions of public fury. Inside 10 Downing Street, the atmosphere had turned.